So when you look at an option, you have a bid price and you have an asking price. Those are the two things that the market makers provide you with. And there's a lot of information embedded inside these two prices because you should think of an option, or I'm sorry, you should think of um, a bid ask price as effectively one large auction for an individual security. The bid price represents the highest price someone's willing to pay for a security, and the asking price is the lowest price someone's willing to offer for a specific security. And these two prices provide a lot of information because in a two-way market, what you can imply from the bid and ask price is the mid price. And the mid price tells you what is effectively the implied fair value of a security. And not only is this useful in helping you understand how to place your orders, but the difference between the bid and ask price reflects how competitive this particular security is from market makers. Because remember, there's not just one market maker out there. There are many market makers out there, and they're all competing at the end of the day for your order. Because again, if a market maker doesn't get orders flowing through their system, they can't make any money. And they're paying millions of dollars a year in terms of fees to buy the computers, to have the data feeds, to employ the quants that can build these algorithms for market making. So they need to be able to make their money back, and the only way they can do that is to have your transactions. So what the bid ask price provides you with is some type of information around how competitive are market makers competing for your order. And it really reflects how often something trades. The more often something trades, the tighter the difference between the bid and the ask price is going to be, because only the first asking price and the first bid price are the ones that actually are going to accept your orders if you pay the asking price or accept the bid price. So market makers have to compete. The securities that trade more often, you're going to see tighter bid-ask spreads. The securities that don't trade as often, they're just going to naturally have wider spreads. So this is going to be important to help you understand not necessarily liquidity, but how much you have to pay to get in and out of a trade. Because something that doesn't trade very often, guess what? You're just going to have to pay a little bit more than the fair value. So if something trades at 775 by 795, what we can generally imply is that the fair value of something is about $7.85. Now, many investors will say, well, I placed an order at $7.85 and it just sat there. So that means there's no liquidity. Well, guess what? It has nothing to do with liquidity. It has to do with the fact that you're trying to basically tell the market maker you want to execute a trade and you don't want to pay them any money to place that trade. And guess what? Your orders are going to sit there, but it has nothing to do with liquidity. It has to do with the fact that there's no money to be made for the market makers, and they have to make something, right? And when something trades very often, you can put a very small markup and they're willing to accept that because they know they can take a small markup 1,000 times a day across 1,000 other investors. But if you're trading something that's not very liquid, that doesn't trade very often, guess what? Giving them a small markup is just not enough of an incentive to trade unless you're trading a ton of contracts, right? So when you're a retail trader and you're trading 1, 2, 5, 10 contracts, and you want to mark up something by 2 cents, well, 2 cents is effectively $2 in a potential revenue for them per contract, right? So if you're trading 4 contracts, 5 contracts, that's $8, $10. Maybe that's not interesting enough for them to take on the risk. So that's why when you're trading something less liquid, you're going to see a wider spread. It just means that something doesn't trade very often, and it just tells you that the market maker wants you to pay a larger markup. And that's the reality of trading, is that when you trade something that's not very widely traded, you're going to pay a larger markup for that asset.